There exists a speedrun where you have to replicate Ash Ketchum's anime adventure in the Kanto region, and it might just be the worst Pokemon speedrun ever created. Because speedrunning Ash Ketchum's journey is quite a ridiculous task when you're required to catch, evolve, and release certain Pokemon around the same time that he did, on top of keeping Pikachu in your party the entire game. However, there is one thing that Ash did on a banned episode of the anime that trumps every task set before it. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, because there are a few things I need to put a disclaimer on, since there are a lot of things in the anime that just aren't possible in the games. So, to make speedrunning Ash's journey less complicated, the rules were mostly designed around the silly way he caught, evolved, and released his Pokemon throughout the anime. And to be honest, I think it's more fun this way since it's not unreasonably restrictive. Now with all that said, let's start up our journey in Pokemon Yellow from the beginning of the game, where the first rule in an Ash percent speedrun comes into play. Rule number 1 states that you must name yourself Ash and your rival Gary. Luckily, these are preset options in Pokemon Yellow, so you don't have to waste time spelling out these names. And once we're in the game, the first Pokemon we need to grab on our journey is our trusted Pikachu. This lovely mouse provides us with some tiny cutscenes that will lose us time over the course of the run. And now that we have our starter Pokemon, rule number 2 isn't in play just yet, since we'll have to face our rival. And based on this specific battle, his Eevee will either evolve into Vaporeon if we lose, or Flareon if we win. While getting it to evolve into Jolteon requires you to win this fight in the lab and the fight on Route 22. But the Route 22 fight is always skipped since it's not required whatsoever. But what is required is rule number 2, where you have to capture a Caterpie as your first Pokemon, followed by a Pidgeotto just like Ash did. Luckily, the spawn rate of Caterpie inside of Viridian Forest is a nice simple 55% chance to encounter, but Pidgeotto is a disgusting 1% chance to find. Some might ask, why not grab Pidgey with its 24% chance to show up? Well, did Ash catch a Pidgey and evolve it into Pidgeotto? No, he didn't. So just like him, we have to get lucky enough to spot one too. And throughout the history of this category, not a single person has used RNG manipulation to get a nice easy Pidgeotto. And because of this category's history, RNG manipulation was eventually outright banned for the sake of keeping this lovely meme category the exact same way that it was created. Also, you truly experience the suffering of Ash's journey. As of this video, the current world record takes 18 minutes to even find Pidgeotto and an entire minute to catch it, since all you have at this point are a Pikachu, some Pokeballs, and a Dream. To make it worse, its signature move Gust is a normal type move in Gen 1, which Pikachu doesn't resist, so it can be pretty hard not to die against one. But Ash Ketchum never dies, and neither will we, because now that we have Pidgeotto, we can finally evolve Caterpie into Metapod, then into Butterfree, since Ash evolved his Caterpie after obtaining Pidgeotto. And interestingly enough, Butterfree ends up being the strongest Pokemon we'll have for a while. So we'll end up using it on pretty much every fight from Pewter City to Cerulean, including Team Rocket, Brock, and Misty. Now, I know Pikachu was used for these fights in the anime, but the thing is, Pikachu never won or lost the badges, and the rules don't exactly state what Pokemon we need to use for each battle, making Butterfree our best weapon for speedrunning, with its kind of okay special set. But more importantly, it gets confusion. And if you know anything about Generation 1, Psychic typing is incredibly busted, because without the existence of Dark type, nothing really combats it. So we can just sweep most Pokemon. And from here, nothing special happens until we reach Cerulean City, where the next slew of Pokemon on Ash Ketchum's list will be the Kanto starters. Luckily, these are given out for free in Pokemon Yellow and in a pretty optimal order in the anime. And to top it off, the requirements to get them from these NPCs aren't crazy like they are in the Let's Go games, where you gotta catch a ton of Pokemon to receive them in the first place. For Bulbasaur, the only requirement is to have a happy Pikachu. Squirtle needs you to beat Surge, while Charmander has no requirements whatsoever. Getting Pikachu to be happy is pretty easy from just walking along your adventure, allowing us to immediately grab Bulbasaur. After clearing Nugget Bridge, we can grab Charmander, which will become the main Pokemon for the rest of the run, but here's where certain issues come into play, because Ash freaking Ketchum caught Krabby and Primeape before he evolved his Charmander into Charmeleon and even Charizard. And because of this, we need to press B on evolving Charmander until after we complete the 6th gym. Why? Well, that's because Ash didn't catch a Mankey, but instead a fully evolved Primeape. Some might say that it technically evolved from a Mankey in the wild, which would make catching it as easy as going back to Viridian City, but at the end of the day, it's what he physically caught and evolved himself that matters the most. And the reason Primeape is a problem is because the only way to physically catch it is by going to Route 23. This route is located right before the cave entrance to Victory Road, which means you have to go through multiple badge checks and surf across the water to get there, making it so that you have to use Charmander on Surge, Erica, Koga, Sabrina, and the entirety of Silphco before we can ever see Primeape. But there's also one final requirement besides grabbing Krabby that we must do before catching Primeape. Many of you might have seen one of the saddest Pokemon anime episodes to ever exist, and in order to properly speedrun this category, it's time to say bye-bye Butterfree. Goodbye, old friend. We'll remember everything you did for us going from Pewter to Celadon City. And if we weren't a big enough monster already for releasing Butterfree for Primeape, the Primeape also needs to be released before we catch Muck, since Primeape was given away before Ash ever caught his Muck. So, once again, goodbye Primeape. We hardly knew thee. At least we can head straight to Cinnabar Mansion's top floor to get us a free Muck pretty easily before the worst requirement is upon us. Remember when we talked about one of the banned episodes of Pokemon containing certain Pokemon that Ash acquired in his Pokemon journey? Well, for those of you who haven't heard about it or even watched it, this was originally episode 35, the Safari Zone episode that only ever aired in Japan. And for pretty obvious reasons, like the Safari Zone warden pointing a gun at Ash or straight up shooting at Team Rocket every chance that he could. Just kind of weird that they kept the guns in the Squirtle Squad episode, but you know, that's besides the point. The point is that during this episode, Ash Ketchum caught a total of 29 Tauros every single time he threw a Safari Ball. Some might argue that this was in fact 30, but no, it actually wasn't. Because even though Ash does own 30 Tauros, Brock caught one of those Tauros for Ash. So with Brock catching a single Tauros, this gives us one less headache to deal with throughout the run. Because every Tauros encounter has a 7.5% chance to get in every Safari Ball that you throw. And just to put it into perspective, the current world record entered the Safari Zone at 2 hours, 45 minutes, and 36 seconds, caught the first Tauros at 3 hours, 4 minutes, and 48 seconds, then caught the final Tauros at 5 hours, 44 minutes, and 52 seconds. This is almost 3 entire hours to only catching Tauros. And in comparison, the rest of this category is a cakewalk, because all you have to do now is keep Pikachu in your party, evolve Charmander to its final form, make sure Krabby evolves last, and beat the rest of the game. Now, I know Ash didn't exactly beat the Elite Four in the anime, but to be honest, he never really fought them anyways, and having this be the true ending to the speedrun category makes for a better ending overall. And as of this video, there are only 3 known speedrunners who were brave enough to even try this category, because Ash's journey was not meant for speedrunning purposes. And weirdly enough, this might not even be the worst Ash percent you can speedrun. While there is currently only one other game that's done an Ash percent speedrun, I'd argue that the worst one goes to Generation 2 Pokemon games. Because that season of the Pokemon anime is the only one where Ash caught a shiny Pokemon. And to any gamers willing to try that speedrun, have fun and good luck to you.